I absolutely hate Wendell Bamblebee with my entire being. Hey guys, welcome to the start of a reading vlog in which I am going to be partaking in the 72 hours and the Reading Nook. Alright, before you get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, did you partake in the readathon, and if so, how many books did you get read? The 72-hour readathon is hosted by Cassidy, Mel, and 𝗖cie. I believe the guest host for this round was Monica, and all of those ladies are linked in the description down below. This one doesn't seem like it has a genre basis like some of the previous rounds have been, but there are two wheels. You have the in your comfort zone and out of your comfort zone wheel, and they each have different prompts. Basically, you spin the wheel, you get a prompt, you pick a book for it. I have a lot of books still in my February TBR. With that, I will probably have options every single time. I think I'm gonna try and make things a little bit more fun for myself and use other tactics to then narrow things down even more. I don't know, maybe a pet pick or like ask my friends, ask Josh, random generators, we'll figure it out. I also have basically two buckets of books. I have books that I need to get read for videos, and then I have books that I just want to read. So I'll also have a combination of both of those. I don't know how this is gonna go, if I'm being honest. I'm very hopeful I will actually get a fair amount read. It goes from 6 p.m. Thursday night to 6 p.m. Sunday night. However, Thursday nights are the night I go to my brother's, so chances are I might start this a little earlier in the day. Then Josh is coming over, and I know for a fact we are going out to dinner Friday night, and on Sunday is my nephew's birthday. So this is a little bit of a busy weekend to do this, but I need to get some reading done, and that's what this is for. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow when I officially start into this readathon, but I needed to film an intro for it because I knew I was gonna forget tomorrow. Hi, welcome to the start of 72 hours in the Reading Nook. I'm really excited because I need a kick in the ass. Things started tonight at 6 o'clock, but I was at my brother's watching My Hero Academia. I did go ahead and do my first spin this morning, so I'll go ahead and put that up here. And I got under 300 pages. I had a few different options that would work, and then I was like, you know, I'm gonna use my TBR jar. I didn't film that, so I don't have proof. Prompt that I pulled from my TBR jar was last added to my TBR. So I went through all of my options and looked to see which one had I added to my TBR on Goodreads most recently. And that was Sister Maiden Monster by 𝗖cie 𝗁𝗁. I really didn't know anything about this book apart from the fact that it was a horror book and it was getting not the best reviews. And I understand why, because I officially finished this when I DNF'd at 29%. This is a pandemic story. The author was very influenced by COVID, and you can feel that in the story. However, there's like a little bit of a cannibal twist on it, and I'll admit that was interesting. Wasn't expecting it. Got me a little bit more intrigued. However, I wasn't a really big fan of the writing style from the get-go. It's very info dumpy, and the main character we're following, Erin, the writing for her thought process felt really unnatural. I don't know, inauthentic. It didn't flow well for me. So when Erin is recovering from being in the hospital because she gets the disease, it started to get really preachy. That's like coming from somebody who fully agreed with the topics being presented, what the author was saying about those topics. A lot of them felt very forced into the narrative. Erin shares her thoughts on religion, which I was mostly just taken off guard by because religion literally popped up out of nowhere. Wasn't expecting that topic to be included here. I probably should have, because upon further reflection of the cover, there's a crucifix on it, but I guess I just never noticed that previously. The topic of reproductive rights comes up. And again, I completely agreed with what I assume the author's opinion was based on how she was writing this. I will admit, my own experiences did sort of skew my opinion when she needlessly demonizes IUDs. Really, the nail in the coffin for me, though, was Erin gets out of the hospital and she has to be quarantined. She cannot be around anybody, including her fiance who she lived with. She gets this essentially like an Uber back to her apartment, and on the way she becomes kind of like weirdly obsessed with her driver. She's really attracted to her. She thinks she smells delicious, which kind of rides that cannibal line. Like the next interaction we have with her talking to her boyfriend, she proposes an open relationship because they can't be together due to this quarantine. She doesn't want him to feel neglected when it comes to intimacy.
No judgment on open relationships. Do your thing. As long as it's legal, I don't care. No, Erin is not doing this out of the kindness of her heart to try and make her relationship work. She is doing this for an excuse so she can cheat and sleep with this hot chick and not feel bad about it. Again, personal experiences probably clouding my judgment. I was in a long distance relationship for 4 years. Literally being apart for a few weeks at this point is what they're talking about. No sympathy here. You'll deal. You have a hand, use it. So yeah, I got really irritated with this book. And now I did my next spin. So here's that for y'all. I ended up getting a 2023/2024 release. I went through and picked out a bunch of the books that came out within the last year, and I'm gonna let Sam choose. Hey guys, so it's 9 o'clock on Friday and I do have updates. When I last talked to y'all, I was gonna have Sam pick a book for me, and of course he ended up going with the one that I didn't own, which was Whale Fall by Daniel Kraus, and that was from my 12 Recs by 12 Friends. Tiffany recommended me that one. And what I knew going into it was that it was like Project Hail Mary, except the guy has been swallowed by a whale, and then that it also had grief horror elements, particularly around the main guy's father, which I'll admit, honestly, going into that made me a little nervous. Dad stuff makes me cry. However, I felt like this book was a long form version of an Am I the Asshole? Jay, our main character, is basically trying to atone. No, I wouldn't even say atone. He's trying to assuage his guilt and showcase to his family that his grief around his father dying is more complicated because he and his dad had such a tumultuous relationship. His dad was all about the sea. He was all about being a diver and being obsessed with everything relating to the ocean. He was fairly decent as a husband, except for the fact that he could never hold down a job because his very strong feelings about ocean and wildlife rights would often make him have issues with tourists and people who were paying him. When it came to his son, he basically treated Jay as his protege, except Jay didn't want to do this. He was also filled with toxic masculinity. Maybe didn't physically abuse Jay at many points, definitely emotionally. Like in the flashbacks we see, it's just very clear that his dad was a bit of an asshole. Jay ended up moving out of his parents' house because of his relationship with his dad, and then when his dad is dying, he refuses to reconnect. Mostly because it's his mom and his sisters trying to force a reconnection and not his father reaching out and admitting his faults. So his dad ended up taking matters into his own hands rather than dying due to a disease, and his body was never found because he died in the ocean. Jay takes it upon himself to dive down to where his father's supposed to have done the deed and try to find his body, but whilst down there ends up getting swallowed by a whale and then is trying to deal with his memories of his father and their relationship, both good and bad, whilst also remembering everything his father taught him about scuba diving and whales in order to survive. As I said, it kind of felt like a very long Am I the Asshole mixed with survival horror. And I liked the first half of the story because of that setup. I was really intrigued and the familial drama definitely kept me engaged. But honestly, once we focused more on the survival horror, I did start to sort of zone out. I liked the ocean facts. I had my time where I was very fascinated by whales, so I also really enjoyed any talks about the whale and learning about their biology and things such as that. I do think Kraus was able to make a very oppressive atmosphere once Jay has been swallowed by the whale. But when it came to Jay trying to get out, trying to survive, I don't know, it was very easy for me to zone out. I was a little disappointed in the ending just because there were certain elements that I wished had actually been showcased on page. Like, I wanted Jay's family's reactions to him trying to do this. I wanted Jay to confront his family about what his relationship with his father was really like and how they didn't seem to understand the severity of it. So unfortunately, I liked the first half of this. The second half, it kind of lost me a little bit, but I got it done. Technically, we were 2 books down. I did my next spin earlier because, once again, I kind of knew it was going to be a process for me to choose. So this was my spin. I ended up getting my most used format of a book, which is definitely audio. So I went through and I found the books that I could very easily get my hands on the audio, and I needed to get these read here soon. Then I went to my friend Molly, asked her to pick one for me, and she went with A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid because of the cover. I did start into this when I got off work, but before Josh and I went out to dinner, and I am already enjoying it. So in this, we are following this young woman, Effie, who goes to an architectural college, but is obsessed with this man known as Emrys Meridian. Merdens. Oh my god. I can't pronounce this name at all. Effie is in the architectural college, but she really wanted to be in the literature college so that she could study this man who's her favorite author. However, she finds an opportunity when this author's child ends up offering architectural students the opportunity to essentially redo their estate. And they want it to be something true to their father's legacy. And Effie, because this is her favorite author, ends up winning this prize. I do know a romance element is also going to pop up here, which I am excited for. 30 pages in. My friend Allie also annotated this for me, so I'm having a lot of fun going through and like responding to her comments as well as tabbing. The reason I haven't gotten more read is Josh and I went out to dinner. I dragged him to Barnes & Noble for a little bit, and then we went to Kroger and Daiso. So we actually ended up having a bit of an eventful evening, but now I'm gonna continue reading. He might play some video games, and then whenever one or both of us get burnt out, we're gonna watch Boruto. I just know that's gonna happen. It's ironic that I picked this for my most used format, seeing as how like I could get the audio, and I do have it, I downloaded it, but I've been physically reading it. Very ironic, and kind of goes against the entire idea of the prompt. I can read it on audio, I just don't know how often I will do that. Hey guys, it's Saturday and it is 5:30 and I am still in the middle of A Study in Drowning. Slept in this morning and then Josh and I went and got coffee and lunch and then we watched some Boruto. But I've been reading for the last bit and I've officially hit the halfway point into this book and I am very much enjoying this. I am also annotating it, which is a lot of fun. I constantly just want to give Effie a big ol' hug. I feel so bad for her, but at the same time, I really like that Preston is trying to extend an olive branch and that he is trying to help her while also using her to help himself. The question of whether or not this author actually wrote this work is fascinating, and now it's kind of starting to rely more on fantastical bits, and the question of whether or not this fairy king from the story is real. Has Effie actually been seeing him throughout her life? Because she believes she has, but at the same time, everybody around her has told her that's just hallucinations. She takes medicine to get rid of those hallucinations. Those lines are blurring a lot more now that she's on this estate. A major element in this that I'm really impressed with is sexism and toxic relationships and power imbalances in relationships and how often those get brought up in the different interactions Effie has with men. Not quite abusive, but definitely uncomfortable relationship she had with her advisor, and the impact that has had on her life and how she interacts with men now is just so well handled, and how it is just a constant thing in the back of her mind. But Preston, being the one guy, doesn't fall into that. He does not look at her like a piece of meat, as just a woman for his enjoyment. And he treats her with so much kindness and reverence, and Effie just does not know how to react to it. I do love that. The world itself is also just fantastically done. I learned, especially in Juniper and Thorn, that I really like how Reid creates these in-universe stories and poems, and how she ties those into the world itself and allows you to explore a little bit more of it, learn a little bit more about the society and their views. And they do that in this book. Again, love the world building here, and then the gothic atmosphere is fantastically done. I have no clue if I will finish this tonight. I have about another 180 pages, so we'll see. Josh is playing some Red Dead and we'll probably get food later. But I'm hopeful I will at least crank this one out and maybe start into a third book. No, fourth book, technically. Hey guys, so I finished out A Study in Drowning. Look at me. We got 2 books completed and technically we are on to our 4th spin, but I really liked this. There's still like one major element I wasn't the biggest fan of, but honestly, ignoring that, this is really up there. Loved the themes and how they tied in. Really was impressed. A certain element that I thought was unnecessary, but it ended up working into some of the other aspects of Effie's character that I thought was really clever. The writing is also just fantastic. Did call one of the final reveals. I did guess that. Literally wrote down in the margin my theory, and so I could flip back to that page. Across the board though, really enjoyed this one. This was very good. Did my next spin, came out to this, and I got a new to me author. So this time around, I figure why not let Josh pick for me. So I had 3 options and he looked through them and he went with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, which is very pretty. And it's very ironic that I am reading these books that I put on my March TBR and I'm finishing them in February, but we're not gonna talk about that. This is 317 pages. Will I get this read between tonight and tomorrow? Highly unlikely, especially because Josh and I are gonna watch some more Boruto. I will definitely have some reading time in the morning, but then I have to go to my nephew's birthday party tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this one. I'm also apprehensive. Fairies are like an anti-buzzword for me. However, I'm reading this for a video, and that does have me very intrigued to see if I will like it. I'm also interested in the romance, because I think the romance is gonna span like all 3 books in this trilogy, and I'm wondering like how the author handles it. That might be a little bit too much slow burn for me. I also believe Emily Wilde is like a bit curmudgeonly and not the most sociable human being. So I'm also interested to see if I like her as a character. Good morning. Do I do anything on the weekends that's not laying on my couch? No, not really. But it is 11:30. I slept in again. Whoops. And then I was reading some fanfics. So, you know, a strong start to the morning. But Josh has officially left for work. I don't have to be at the party area until probably like 2:30ish. I've got plenty of time to start into Emily Wilde's, and we're officially gonna do that. I have no idea how far into this I will get. Honestly, 72 hours is supposed to end at 6 p.m. today. I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I might just keep on reading, especially if I'm liking this, but I do also have to finish editing tomorrow's video, and I think I'm gonna actually have to refilm my reel for my TBR in March. We'll figure that out. It's fine. Officially diving into this, about 317 pages. Unfortunately, I cannot get the audiobook anywhere because it is still too popular. We're gonna start trucking through. We're gonna set up some ASMR room and just get all nice and cozy like the rest of my weekend has been. Let's go. Hey y'all, trying to give you a little bit of a different background. That's not just me sitting on the couch. I have been reading Emily Wilde, and actually I realized that I could check Spotify in order to find the audiobook, and yes, it was on there. Seeing as how I do have a premium Spotify, I just keep forgetting that they added audiobooks to there, so I don't think to check it, but it was available, thankfully. I've been reading this, and I am currently at 94 pages in. I absolutely hate Wendell Bamblebee with my entire being. And seeing as how I know there's supposed to be a romance between him and Emily, I'm debating on DNFing this book, because if I don't like one of the main characters of a romance, I'm not gonna like the romance. I'm not gonna care about it at all. Obviously, there's the opportunity to grow him as a character, but the way he has treated Emily so far aggravates me so much. I haven't officially made the decision to put this down. I'm gonna eat some lunch after this update, and I'm gonna let myself think about it, and then I'll make the decision. First off, Emily is living in this really small town in order to investigate this really rare fairy folk that is supposed to only be in this town. And she's supposed to be doing this by herself. She's an adjunct professor creating this encyclopedia, so she's all alone. One day she comes back from buying some groceries. Unfortunately, some sheep have gotten into the little house she's staying at. That's really annoying.
and Wendell shows up with 2 students. First off, just rude and obnoxious that he did so without warning her at all, and, you know, just inserts himself into the situation when he's not needed, nor was asked to be there. But the scene is written off as funny because of the sheep, and, you know, he helps her get them out and then makes his students clean everything up. So right there, terrible introduction. He actually does take some initiative and goes to interview this changeling that Emily actually spoke with the previous day. And then he gets mad that she didn't tell him enough information about the changeling to prepare him ahead of time. Do you not understand how co-researching works? If your co-author already did this interview, maybe you should pick their brain. Literally go through all of their notes to understand what they already learned in order to plan out your own interview. That annoyed me so badly. Like, take some accountability, dude. I have dealt with too many assholes like this guy to ever like him. The setup of the book is interesting. I will give it that when it comes to like Emily's journals. I do have some logistical issues in that, you know, she's writing out all of these scenes of full dialogue, and like, I don't know anybody who journals like that. I'm also just not very invested in the fairy aspect, if I'm being completely honest. It's like, it's interesting enough, but it's not something that I really want to know a ton about. So like I said, I'm gonna take a break and hope that a little time away will help me relax and make a less emotionally informed decision. Hey guys, so I actually look a little bit put together right now because I'm about to go to that birthday party, but I made the decision that I am gonna DNF Emily Wilde. I know that's not super surprising off of my rant. Yeah, we're just gonna leave it there. I did go ahead and do my next spin, so I'll put that up for y'all here. And it did come out to a friend recommendation. So once again, I had multiple options there. From those 3, I then did a color generator, and I'll put that here. So from the color generator, I got this like pastel-y teal. And of the books I had picked, thankfully, this color looks exactly like the color of the high heels on the original Bending the Rules by Christina C. Jones. So I'm gonna go with that one. It is also only about 6 hours as an audiobook. And in terms of friend recommendation, Ray at Bookmark Chronicles did recommend like this entire series, and that'll also finish out a series for me. So works out perfectly. Since it is on the shorter side and I have the audio, hopefully I will get it read pretty quickly. But since I'm going to this birthday party, I can't really listen to an audiobook. Well, I guess I could, but it might be a little rude. Hey y'all, happy Monday. So I officially finished out 72 hours in the Reading Nook. Just that last night. Ended up going out to dinner after the birthday party, so I didn't get home until later than expected, but I did start into the audiobook of Bending the Rules by Christina C. Jones. Right from the get-go, I was into it. I was really enjoying it. Tony and her best friend Justin, something has taken place that has made them not be friends anymore. And we don't really know what that is when things start out, but we do know Tony owns a publishing company, and it's on the smaller side, and she does a lot of stuff herself. She travels all over the world. She's been doing this pretty nonstop for the last 7 years, which we know is around the time that she and Justin had their falling out. However, she's now in her hometown, and her parents actually own the local bookstore, and she agrees to host a signing event for him because not only is this like right up her alley, it's perfectly what she does for her job, but also this is like a really great opportunity for the bookstore. So these two are forced to work together because of that, and obviously, you know, they have to figure out what took place in the past and like hear both sides of the story and figure out whether or not they can be friends again. But added to that is the fact that they really haven't interacted for the last 7 years. Now that they finally are, they're both realizing they are attracted to one another. So it's kind of like ex-best friends to lovers, and honestly, not really a trope I've ever thought too much about, but I was into it here. I will say, with the whole, you know, friendship breakup, I was so nervous to find out what it was going to be because I really didn't know if it was going to be something that CCJ would be able to make me angry on Tony's behalf, but also understanding on Justin's behalf. I do think she managed to do that, but I can't help. All I could think was, why didn't you just talk to each other 7 years ago? You're best friends. Sure, I suppose you could make the argument about like they were young and stupid. I actually did really end up enjoying this one. I really loved the tension between the two of them where they're trying to be friends again and navigate the aspects of their relationship that they've missed for the last 7 years while also falling back into old habits. Then there's the fact that there's sexual tension between the two of them, and it's really hard to ignore. The two brothers from the prior books roasting the crap out of Justin left and right. Loved it. It was so freaking good, y'all. And them constantly poking fun at the fact that like Tony's super hot. We know You know. We know you know. Just admit it. I also was taken off guard that there were some discussions around fertility issues in this that I actually really liked how those were handled. CCJ managed to kind of do that thing in the epilogue where married with a kid without doing that. It worked very well for their circumstance, and I really enjoyed it. Honestly, across the board, ignoring the miscommunication element from the fight when they were kids, I actually really loved everything about this book. I couldn't really find anything negative to harp on. So even though I just finished out the Wright Brothers series, I now definitely want to check out the companion series, which I believe is following their cousins, because not only is CCJ's work funny and cute, but it's also steamy as heck, and I want more. So now, to officially close out this vlog, I read 3 books and I DNF'd 2, which honestly, not bad for a weekend. And I like still actually had plans and things going on. Definitely read some books I wasn't planning on picking up. Did work on a few videos, which is also needed. Across the board, thank you to all of the folks who are hosting this wonderful readathon. I'll put links to all of them in the comments down below. Please give them all a follow. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as leave me in the comments a clock emoji. I have all my socials, as well as a few ways you can support me, linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!